Okay. So the written assignment that you're expected to submit for this module is in the form of a literature review. So this short video is going to explain to you what a literature review and what is expected of you. So a literature review is basically a search for and evaluation of the available literature on a given topic. So what you're expected to do is to compile that literature that you have consulted and write a critical summary on the given topic. For this assignment is information technology and sustainable development goals. Where do you get this literature? Because this is academic writing, we expect you to use academic sources of literature. So you're encouraged to use the Google Scholar engine, UK certain libraries, textbooks. You can also use some online resources as long as the authorship of that information is traceable. We will have part of a lecture where I will take you through how to conduct a literature search. So your literature review should demonstrate that you are familiar with the body of knowledge, that is the literature on the given topic. So that means you cannot just write your entire literature review based on one article or one source. You need to have consulted a number of sources in order for you to demonstrate this familiarity that you actually have read on that particular topic. You should also, ideally, you should demonstrate that you have learned from others. I know often students think that if they write from their own, thinking without consulting or citing other sources, it actually shows that they know more about the topic. In academic writing, we actually expect you to learn from others. Your ability to consult other sources is actually much more valuable than your ability to just write from, your own perspective or your own thinking. So remember, you need to consult a number of sources. Your literature review also has a specific structure to it. Obviously, like in a normal essay that you write, you need your introduction, the body, and then the conclusion. All right, so in your introduction, you have obviously at the beginning some background information on the topic. You also need to establish why you're writing the review. I'm sure in ACCT they call it the thesis statement. So there's a purpose statement. Why are you writing? Why are you doing this review, which you actually derive from the question that you've been given. You also need to indicate the structure of the report, right? What is it that as the reader, what is it that I should expect as I read your report? And also for this particular assignment, I also want you to include a section on the scope of the literature that you have used. Are you going to use information from published works such as textbooks, journal articles, online articles, and where you got that information from? The body of your literature review, it's actually organized according to themes. So you need to group the literature or the studies that you have consulted according to a common theme. So you might have 2-3 paragraphs, each paragraph with a common theme. And then as you write it, you also need to critically summarize each source and provide examples where possible, provide examples. Lastly, you need to have a conclusion which summarizes the important aspects covered in the literature review. Here, you are not introducing new information. You are not repeating what you have said in detail. You're simply summarizing it in a few sentences, 3 to 5 sentences. And lastly, you need to have a reference list where all the sources, all the literature that you have consulted or included in the main body of your review, you actually list them at the end of your academic essay. And in this particular module, we use the Harvard citation style. Okay, so now let's talk about a literature review. An example of a literature review. Okay, So this is an example of a literature review. We went through it in detail in class. I'm just repeating what is expected of you. Like I said, in the workbook that I gave you, there is a cover page. You are expected for each assignment to submit it with that cover page. So which means your literature review, your assignment is going to start on page 2. On page 2, I want your topic first, and it should be centered on the second page. Right? And then you have your different subheadings as well. I want them also, I want like each paragraph or each section to have a subheading. So let us look at this literature review. First, we have a few background sentences here highlighted in yellow. It's simply to explain or give some background on the topic. So the topic is the impact of WhatsApp communication. Right? And if you look at these few sentences that we have here, the first sentence, human communication is continuously changing. Apart from using telephones or sending mails, people can now communicate through chat technology. You're giving a background, right? And now this is the source that was consulted for that information. WhatsApp Messenger, now you're linking that background to your current assignment topic, for instance, is one of the most popular chat technologies with more than 1 billion users worldwide. Where did I get that information? There is the source. This is what we call in-text citation. However, WhatsApp is a compelling instant messaging app, it is not without any drawbacks. This literature review aims to demonstrate the impact of WhatsApp Messenger on communication, focusing mainly on its advantages and disadvantages. Now, this is what we call the thesis statement, purpose statement. It states clearly what is going to be discussed. So we know in this literature review, the author is going to discuss the impact of WhatsApp Messenger on communication, focusing mainly on its advantages and disadvantages. Right? After that, now we have the structure of this literature review. Okay, how the structure of the literature review, what will be discussed first and what will follow. After that, this is still part of the introduction. Then we have a fourth section, which tells us the scope where the information used for this literature review was gathered and how it was gathered. All right, so that forms part of your literature review. I expect to see these 4 parts clearly: some background information, your thesis statement, structure, and the scope of how the literature was where you got the literature that you use for this particular assignment. Then we move on to the body of your literature review. In the body of your literature review, you have learned about topic sentences. I know some topic sentences, some come at the end of the paragraph, some in the middle of the paragraph. But for this particular essay, piece of writing, I expect you to have that introductory sentence in each paragraph, which points clearly what the paragraph is going to be about. So for this one, the author says they are going to focus on advantages and disadvantages of WhatsApp. They should be full stop there, right? So here, the first paragraph, the subheadings that I spoke about, is advantages of WhatsApp. It gives advantages of WhatsApp. The first sentence, it points out what this paragraph is going to be about. This is followed by some evidence development, what other scholars have said about this. And then it ends here with just a few sentences, one or a few sentences. This is for demonstration purposes, so I just have a few sentences, but you could have one or more sentences. We sort of like show your understanding, where your point of view based on what the other scholars have said. So here, what the author is trying to do is try to link these advantages to what is currently happening in the COVID-19 pandemic and how a digital platform like WhatsApp actually has potential to ensure that learning is not disrupted. All right. Then the author moves on to the second part where they talk about the disadvantages of WhatsApp. And the same format is also, they follow the same format where the first sentence points out what the paragraph is going to be about, followed by evidence development, what the others have said on that particular topic. And lastly, a sentence or two or more, which actually sort of like focuses on evaluation of that literature to say, like for instance here, the author ends this particular passage by mentioning that WhatsApp users are not able to distinguish between fake and reliable news. All right, because this is what the main disadvantages of WhatsApp that have been discussed. Then we move on to the conclusion. The conclusion here, it summarizes the main points of the that have been discussed in the body of the essay. All right, so they are summarized. The main focus was on, it starts with, just some background information on, interpersonal communication and how it has evolved. And then, WhatsApp, and then some of the benefits of WhatsApp, such as cost, ease of use, and versatility. And then it also moves on to mention, that even though it has got all these advantages, WhatsApp actually also has some drawbacks which users must not actually overlook. So that's the last sentence, which sort of like is a call to action for the readers to say, yes, it has got all these advantages, but do not overlook some of the disadvantages. And then lastly, you have the last part, which is the references. And I said for references, we use the Harvard style of referencing. And this is an example of how like if you're using Harvard, this is an example of, how to cite a textbook in the reference list. So you start with the surname, the surnames of the author, for editors, comma, the initials, a full stop, year, full stop, the title of the book in italics, the city of publication, a colon, and the name of the publisher, and the full stop. That is how you cite a book. Okay, and how do you cite a journal article? Journal article, you cite it like this as well: surname of the author, comma, the initial, full stop, the year, the title of the article, the title of the article, and then for an article is the journal's name, which is in italics. For the book is the name of the book, which is in italics, but for a journal is the journal's name, which is in italics, followed by a colon, then the volume, the issue, followed by a colon, and then the page numbers. All right, so this is how you cite a journal article. And then lastly, how do you cite an online or internet article? It's surname, again, comma, you have your initial, comma, the year, and then the title of the article in italics, and then you have online, full stop, and then you also tell us where you got it, that is the URL link of that article, as well as the date that you accessed it. So what we're going to do is you can actually get a full list, a reference guide from the Writing Place. You can send an email to our Writing Place coordinator. In the first lecture, I did indicate your email address. I will also provide, with the assignment, I will also provide a brief guide on how to use the Harvard system of referencing. All right, so in our lectures, in our tutorials this week, we're going to focus in more detail on the assignment topic itself and how you can actually structure your assignment, the topic that you've been given for this assignment, using these guides. You can use this as a guide, but we're going to focus on breaking down the assignment into its different components, what kind of information or content is required in each of these sections as you prepare for that. Okay.